Going into more detail about my views on the Best Actor award, um, something rubs me about the wrong way about the whole thing. I believe that I always had this little conspiracy theory um, that started 10 years ago. The Academy has a way of phony activism that they're going to go about what's going to be a great political activist moment of our show. I believe that some Academy Award voters think that way, hence well, I have to believe, I'm not saying it's true, it's just based on opinion, it's a conspiracy theory. But, yeah, I have to believe some of the Academy members thinking, hey, let's vote for the guy who played the guy who stood for gay rights, and not give it to the douchebag who's pissed everyone off in Hollywood, or at least 90% of people in Hollywood off for the last 20 years. I gotta believe some of them think that way. And again, this is not I don't want this to reflect my viewpoint of Sean Penn's acting abilities or any of the gay rights issues or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. I'm talking in the context of film. That's it. But I believe that that's their way of thinking sometimes in terms of what's the cool activism thing to do. And this dates back to 10 years ago. Roberto Benigni winning Best Actor at the Oscars that year, defeating Edward Norton, the most passionate performance I have ever seen, well, at least one of them. It's one of my top 10 favorite performances of all time in American History X. Just such a brave, ambitious performance from Norton. Ian McKellen, brilliant in Gods and Monsters. Nick Nolte, the best performance of his career in Affliction. Tom Hanks, a really heart-wrenching performance in Saving Private Ryan. All four of those performances, better than Benigni's in Life is Beautiful. Now, the problem I have with that, and I'm going to start the movie itself. The movie insists itself upon us. The movie was rammed down our throats as an Oscar contender, and I don't like that. The million For Your Consideration ads it got. The way that Benigni went out of his way to just ram it down everyone's throat at the Academy, things like that. The movie itself is good, not great. I happen to think the movie is highly overrated. That I like the message it tries to convey. I'm not going to dispute that. And again, this has nothing to do with my views on any of that stuff. The Holocaust was a great, great tragedy. But I gotta believe that somewhere along the line the Academy voters thought, huh, well, we can't have the guy who played the neo-Nazi skinhead, white supremacist, beat the guy who played the victimized Jew in a Holocaust film. Life is Beautiful, for me, Benigni's performance was just what he does in his comedies, but using it in a lighthearted fashion in this drama. To me, it was nothing special. It wasn't radiant. It had energy. And come on, I thought Molly Ringwald had heartfelt performances in her movies. Okay, but Oscar worthy? No. Kidding me? I just don't believe that his performance, sorry, I think he was, bottom line, I think he was awarded the Oscar for the wrong reasons. I gotta believe that the whole phony political activism of the Academy voters is what swayed this, and it's just an opinion. Now, I'm not trying to say Benigni is a terrible actor, or the subject matter is what bugs me about it, or the fact that he's an Italian actor. That's not it. Don't get on me about that. Okay, I mean, I can hardly understand a word Penelope Cruz says half the time when I hear her speak, but still think she's a wonderful actress. It has nothing to do with that, so no, don't try to play that card on me. I just think that the politics behind some of these Oscar wins in the past, including maybe this year's, but this year didn't anger me though. Sean Penn is an actor I like, so I'm not overly angry about that. But for some reason, and I truly believe that politics and phony activism play a role in the Oscars. And I was just making a comparison there. I don't think that Benigni's performance was better than any of the four. Because I think the other four were miles and miles and miles ahead. They were not only career makers for those four men, in my opinion. I mean, Hanks was better in Saving Private Ryan than he was in Forrest Gump, if you ask me. McKellen just shows his wittiness that he brings to a role no matter what the character is supposed to be. Nolte really just hit it out of the park as a mentally tortured person in affliction, and which his life had devastating effects on his relationships. And my goodness, Edward Norton. There's nothing more I can say about that performance. Just unbelievable at every turn, every little syllable Norton said in that movie. I was hooked, glued. He was a complex, interesting character, the character of Derek Vineyard. I believe, as great as those four performances were, Edward Norton, bar none, should have won that Oscar that year. Not even Tom Hanks, who I generally consider one of my favorite actors. And to me, that's why I believe that politics play in Oscars. Now, some could even say the same thing about Tom Hanks' win for Philadelphia, but the difference between that is maybe it did come into play, but in my opinion, I honestly think he deserved it. If you have differing opinions, fine. That's fine. And if you believe Tom Hanks' win was based on that, then okay. Then tell me why you think that way. But I certainly hope it wasn't, because I believe he deserved to win. So therefore, we can dispute this on and on, but that's just why I believe that the Academy voters sometimes have that mentality, for not all categories, but for some, depending on who's who. Okay, the Academy loves Holocaust movies, and again, not saying that's a bad thing necessarily. The Pianist was a great movie. Adrian Brody deserved his Oscar. I'm not going to argue that. Schindler's List, one of the most powerful movies, one of the greatest movies I've ever, and I don't use this term loosely, I've ever seen. And the list goes on and on. Even The Reader this year. Defiance was okay. There's a lot of good movies about it, but it's in the context of its performance. Is what Benigni's award was all about. Like, for example, Kevin Spacey wasn't. I thought American Beauty wasn't that great of a movie. It's good, but not great. Spacey deserved his Oscar. See what I'm getting at? Spacey's performance was powerful enough in a good, not great movie, in my opinion. I know I'm going to get a lot of pretentious film students after me on that one. But yes, I still think Spacey deserved his Oscar above anybody he was up against that year. Even if Life is Beautiful, I consider it to be a great movie. Like a classic. I just still don't think that Benigni's performance would have warranted even a nomination, let alone a win. That whole year at the Oscars was a disaster anyway. Shakespeare in Love. This is for any members of the Academy who voted that year that might be watching. This is for you. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that one. I mean, I've questioned some of the awards you've given out, but that's the one that was just outright outlandish. I'm sorry, but it was. Nothing more I can really go on about that. It's pretty much my viewpoint on that.